Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas. Today, our guest is R. Eric Thomas. Eric is the author of Here For It, or How to Save Your Soul in America, which is a collection of essays about his life as a queer Black Christian in the United States. Eric is also a senior staff writer at Elle.com, where he writes a comedic column called Eric Reads the News. We talk today about empathy, pop culture, and the lasting legacy of timely books. As is always the case, everything we talk about on today's episode can be found in the link in the show notes. Okay, now it's time for my conversation with author R. Eric Thomas. All right, you guys, I'm here with R. Eric Thomas. Let me just start here. You go by Eric, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to be like R. Eric, and
No, everybody asked. I didn't realize that it would be a thing in my life, and I'm like, it's my parents' fault.
Right.
They named me Robert Eric, and then they just called me Eric, and I'm like, this has complicated every interaction I've had for my entire life.
I love that. Okay, Eric, welcome to The Stacks. We're gonna start where we always start. 30 seconds or so. Can you tell us just about your book, Here For It?
Yeah, sure. The book's called Here For It, or How to Save Your Soul in America. It's a collection of humorous essays about identity and belonging. It takes different positions of otherness and moves them to the center. So I didn't want to, just because I have a marginalized identity, I didn't want to always be on the margins. And so it's about the intersections of Black identity, queer identity, Christian identity, American identity. And they're all funny essays. So if you like Samantha Irby or you like David Sedaris or David Rakoff, it's very much in that vein.
That's amazing. We had Samantha Irby on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she talked about how great you are and how great your book is. So
I'm obsessed with her.
Me too. She's amazing. I was very nervous. I was like, I hope she's cool. And as soon as we started talking, I was like, oh, we could be best friends now or in like 20 minutes. Either way, I'm open. I'm available. No, she's so great. And she had so many kind things to say about you, both on the episode and then afterwards when I made her stay on the phone and talk to me for another 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh. That's really flattering. I'm very, she's deeply generous.
Yeah, she really is. Okay, more about you. So I love that you said that the way that the kind of what the book is bringing all your different identities to the center, because I think that so often when authors who are quote unquote marginalized or othered write their books, it feels like they're trying to prove a point about who they are. And your book felt so wholly, fully you-centered, and it felt so wholly, fully about your story and that you really are your own whole, complete person. And I love that you said that because I really felt that. And I'm curious if it was challenging for you to write like that, just knowing how othered voices are often perceived or encouraged to write, or if that was a challenge for you or if it just came kind of naturally.
A little of both, but mostly it was a challenge. I had to tap into the mentality of the version of myself before I realized that, before the world convinced me that I was different and weird and had to always explain myself. And I had to go back to a place of innocence about who I am. And those innocent places come at different times for different identities. There were a lot of points where there were some stories where I've told them enough and I'm comfortable enough with them that I knew that even though it was a very specific experience rooted in my identities, the experiences were also universal because of their specificity. But then there were other instances, usually around talking about growing up and talking about the way I identify as a Black person and like the financial circumstances of growing up, that I found myself explaining myself to the reader as if the reader was somebody who didn't grow up like I did. And my editor would, Sarah Weiss at Ballantine would send me notes back and say, like, you don't have to explain, you don't have to presume that the reader is not like you. Like, that's the whole point of this book, is to let the reader know that no matter what our demographic differences or samenesses, we're human, and that's the point.
Right.
So it was really, really empowering. So half the book was like me just being like centered in my own narrative, and half the point was me like peeking out from the corner and being like, could you possibly understand what it is to grow up? I can't imagine. Um,
How did you make that shift for the ones that were more challenging? How did you shift your thinking to be more just like, this is me?
well, I asked myself, I would seriously go by line and paragraph by paragraph and ask myself if if I was telling the story to myself or I was telling the story to my family or to people who live this experience with me, what, where would I, what places would I be redundantly explaining, or
Mm,
what places would I be drop code switching? Um, Paul Mooney, a comedian, has this great quote where he talks about how black comedians have like two voices. There's one for the folks, like like generally white folks, the general audience, quote unquote, and there's one for just us.
mm.
And he's like, I'm a just us comedian. I'm only talking to us, and I try to ask myself literally word by word, is this a just us word?
Mm.
Because I feel like when you speak in a just us parlance, whether it's like sort of speaking to um, a certain understanding or using colloquialisms or whatever it is, you're inviting the reader to experience empathy.
Mm.
And even if they don't necessarily understand a particular word, or they're like, I didn't know that people ate that or did those kind of things. One, Google exists, and two, good writing gives you enough context to understand, um, to sort of get the gist, and
Yeah.
from the gist you get the sort of larger picture, I think.
Right. And I feel like in doing that, your reader is also feels closer to you or more endeared to you. Like if you can do it well,
Yeah, yeah, I
which
think so.
yeah, I think which you also did. Like I feel like I know you and I know that I don't, but I definitely I think in the way that you use language and also the way that you use pop culture and just cultural references, to me, I mean, I think we're of a similar age and maybe that's part of it, but to me it just felt like, "Oh, I'm reading this book that my friend wrote because
Hmm.
they're talking about the things that I talk about or like the things that I care about."
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, the goal sort of was, I was so lonely when I wrote this book, and I was like, I just want some more friends, so I wrote a whole book about it. um
I'll be your
and like
friend,
that.
don't worry.
Yeah, excellent. All right, check one more. But I also feel like using pop culture for me, one, that's just sort of the way I think. But two, I think it is another one of those just us languages and I grew up identifying with pop culture that was specifically geared toward me, what little of it there was, and also identifying with pop culture and finding myself in pop culture that was about, Marty McFly or whatever,
Right.
somebody who demographically was not like me at all. And I feel like pop culture is a great equalizer in that if you say this is for me, then even if it wasn't made for me, um, I, I've I've created a small act of justice in saying I claim this. I claim Marty McFly. He and
Right.
I living the same life. And so when we talk about pop culture, when I say, "Hey, you remember that thing that happened? Remember, was there room on the door in Titanic?" and everyone's like, "I got an opinion on that." All of a
Right.
sudden, we're on equal footing.
Right. Yeah, it's a total equalizer if you're speaking the same kind of language around pop
Mhm.
culture. Yeah. That's so true. And I love that you said empathy also because that is it really is a way to connect with people. Um and then there are people who are too good for pop culture and you're like, you're not my people, but I gotta go. Like
Right.
we can't be friends. Hi.
Right. I also kind of feel like people who are like, oh, whatever. I don't like things that are cool. It's like, okay, whatever you like, that's still pop culture. Like,
Right.
even if you like the most niche thing, even if you're like only Brahms for me,
Yeah.
okay, well, Brahms is popular at some point.
Yeah.
So
It's like a more dated pop culture.
exactly.
Right. And there are people for you if you're that person, but
Yeah.
I am not your people. You can just turn the podcast off right now. Just kidding. Just kidding. So, one of the things in this that at least I felt, like we said, that I felt like I knew you and I felt really connected to you, and that you are very vulnerable in the book and you mix in a lot of humor, but there are some really gut wrenching essays and really beautiful, not like
Mhm,
emotional, but not like the essay here for it about your wedding.
mhm.
That essay is so moving and so hopeful and so open, and it really it connected with me. I read it and then I listened to it on your audiobook because I
Mm,
wanted to hear you say the words. And
mhm.
I'm just curious, how hard is it for you to get that vulnerable and that open in your writing?
Most of the time, to be honest, most of the time it is surprisingly easy. You
Hmm,
know, like if I have worked through whatever I am writing about, and that's sort of the test for me.
I
It's like
see.
if I'm like tiptoeing into it and I haven't worked through it in therapy enough, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about this. Oh, I feel weird. I'm like, well, you better close the essay, close the document,
Right.
and go do some work. But you know, there's the phrase that Robert Harling wrote in Steel Magnolias, and it's credited to Dolly Parton's character in the movie. She says, "Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion,"
Yeah.
and which is also very Chekhovian, and and that's the way I feel. I love being able to dive into a deeper level of emotion, and I think that's both comedic and also sort of cathartic. And so, being able to say like, "This is the way I felt," uh, is freeing for me
Mm,
because I don't have to play a role. I don't have to play a role based on what people's stereotypical thoughts of what I might be or do. Um, are. I just have to be a full human being. And I really, really enjoy that. Now, I say that, and like most of the stories in this book, I have, I've worked on for years and years and years. And, now I'm like sort of on the precipice of planning another book of essays about things
yay.
that are much more recent. And so we'll see. My next book will be like, I had no thoughts about that,
Yeah.
and it was fine.
You're like, it was fine. Life is great. Thank you for coming. Not,
Thanks.
I'm not going there. Thanks so much. Thank you for buying my book. It's a
Yeah.
sentence. Where did you start writing this book? You said you've been working on these essays for years. So what was the first one?
Oh, ba, 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 ba. It was probably so I started a lot of the essays as stories that I would tell at like open mic storytelling shows,
Okay.
like The Moth or an organization called First Person Arts in Philly. And so I think one of the first that I told frequently was, I guess, the softball story,
Okay.
Ball So Soft. That it's funny because when I started writing the book, I had told the story live many times and sort of perfected it. I saw it on stage, and then I put it into a one person show, and so I'd written it out as a script, and uh, I was like, great. So I'm just going to take the script and put it right in the book. And when
Mm,
I put it in, I realized I was a different person. The context was different, and I couldn't just cheat my way into having a free essay. So I had to like
right.
start from scratch. So I think, yeah, the softball story was the first. I don't know what was the first like when I started, like I sat down to write the book. Oh, well, in the proposal, um, I wrote the essay, which became The Audacity, writing about uh, the beginning of my L column.
Mm.
Um, and so that was one of the proposal essays. And it served as sort of an introduction to who I am and what I'm about. And that was the original introduction to the book. And then we realized we wanted to go in a different direction.
Do you have, you mentioned about the softball essay that when it was a script and it's evolved and your relationship to it has evolved, do you worry at all about these essays over time? Like how you will feel about them in a year or in 6 years or in 10 years because they are a static thing in a book as opposed to a show or a performance. You could always kind of edit it or change it if you revived it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's my greatest fear. It's like
Okay.
deeply. It's like it keeps me up at night. One of the things that was interesting is, there's one essay that I think I would take another pass at in the book. And
Are you
enough
going to
time
tell
has
us which
passed.
one?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
um,
I had
no,
to ask. I had to ask. My gosh.
yeah, I'll tell you. Like, and the thing is, the reason I would take another pass is just I think there's more jokes to fit into
Okay.
the essay comforters, and and that was a really early one too, and that had started off as a blog post. So. But for the most part, I feel good about the book. But I will say enough time had passed between the final pass pages and recording of the audiobook that when I sat down to read the audiobook, I was like surprised by certain things in the
Wow.
book. I was like, oh, this is interesting writing. So I hope that I continue to be surprised by it and give myself enough grace as time goes on to um, to say like this is the person that I was at this point and this is how I communicated it. External validation really helps. Like if the
Yeah.
book had bombed, I think 5 years from now, I'd be like, well, these were all terrible essays, even if they weren't. But I
Right.
think, I think I'll look back and say like, I would have told that in a different way. But I think for the most part, we went through such a long process of editing and Sarah and Elena Valentine and my agent Anna Sperlatimer are they're all just so brilliant. I hope that this book is like is my own anxiety proof.
Mm,
We'll see.
oh,
I don't
that's
know. What do
cool.
other people do? Do you ask that question a lot of authors? Do people?
I do when people write things that are kind of more like essays in the moment. I don't do it so much when people write fiction because I sometimes feel like fiction I don't know. Sometimes I do. And people never have the same answer. I think a lot of people are have their own different anxieties and fears about their book. I just know if it was me who I'm not a writer, but if it was me, I would probably feel cringy about things in the moment, but I feel cringy about old episodes of this podcast. So I think that's just like that's my own shit, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that your book, what's cool is that it is kind of a time capsule of this moment. And I think sometimes that can be really awesome with essays. And because your book starts when you're young and kind of goes more to the present, some of the essays feel very much not of the moment, like you're
Hmm.
reflecting on. So I think it'll last. I think it will stand the test of time as as an example of this moment in time,
Well,
you
thank you.
know?
I hope so. Yeah. And I think it's also sort of looking at everything in context. It's like I hope the best case scenario I think for any writing is that it ages out of its context and it
Right.
becomes something that you like hold on to and look back at and say like this is a time capsule, like you say, and um and there's value inside of it.
Mm,
The worst case scenario is to say like, oh, those people were not very woke back in the past, and we can't
sure.
read this book anymore. And I don't think, my hope is that
Sure.
that's not what is in this book, and I don't think that's what it is. And so,
And
from
I
a
think
craft,
both things can be true also.
that's true. Also, yeah, there's definitely value for things that you're like, okay, you have to pinch your nose as you read this, but like, there's craft in here. But I
Right.
think from a craft perspective, I know that I believe that I'm a better writer now than I was when I wrote the book was so it's exciting for me to move to another phase, but I also believe in the craft that I put into this book. And and I think about the way, the authors that I really love and following their careers. I think there's always times where you like an author you're really excited about, they put out, sixth or 12th or whatever book, and you're like, I didn't love that one.
Right.
But there's also times where you go back and you're like, oh, I love their first book. And you can see the seeds of all the other books in that. But and they write differently now, but that's because they're different. And I think particularly for essayists, I think about David
Mhm.
Sedaris a lot. The way he wrote in Me Talk Pretty One Day is so different from Calypso,
Mm.
but they're also about such different experiences of life.
Right.
So I think one of my challenges for myself as going forward, particularly in the essay field, not so much in fiction, is to listen to where I am in the moment and
Mm.
let that guide the tools that I'm using to build the essays.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you have to give yourself the permission to change and grow and not to feel like this is all you are, this book, right?
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things that I definitely noticed about in this book, which I'm sure if you've talked to people since I don't know mid-March, people have caught on to, is that pandemic moment.
I know,
How, like, you, first of all, you say that you're born of immaculate conception and then you prophesy a pandemic. I'm just saying, I'm with you.
right? I'm like, first
Like,
of all, put me on TV, like because of
yes. Like, we're
family.
going to do See Your Future with R. Eric Thomas.
I have predictions. I wish I had better predictions. Yeah, I writing that essay, The Past Smell Terrible, where I write about all these different kinds of dystopian futures. I like it- I never imagined that I would live through any of those because one, I say in the essay, I don't want to live through any of these.
Right.
And like, my husband, it was interesting as right when we started quarantining, I have this joke in the essay and I say it all the time at parties or whatever, really never goes over well. But I'm always like, and if there's a dystopia, if we, there's the apocalypse comes, the minute the cable goes out, I'm out. I'm taking myself out of the world. And so like, we first day of quarantine, he like turns on the TV. He's like, all right, cable's still on, so you're still here. And I was like, yes, all right, all right. I hear what you're saying. I will ride out this dystopia, but the next one, no, indeed.
No. Oh my God. I was listening to that essay and I was like, I need to go back for a second. I just need to know if he is predicting that they're like, not predicting, but to be listening to anybody talk about something that's happening in the moment when I know that you wrote it before, like it was trippy for me. I was like, yo, what's happening?
Right.
I want to talk a little bit more about your process as a writer, but first I want to talk about the title of this book. I want to know how you decided which essay to use as the title and if you had other title options.
Yeah. So the essay was actually titled after the book. I don't know that I had I knew exactly how the book was going to end before I started it. And I knew that I had to work up to it. But I think the essay was originally called The Preacher's Husband, which is and it was a much longer. It was the essay that is currently called The Preacher's Husband, and it just had all of the Here For It essay tagged on. And so it was like a novella in the middle of my book. Okay. The original title was Why Bother? And it had no punctuation on it. And I really liked the ambiguity of that. And it was also sort of influenced, I think, by what happened by Hillary Clinton. And I think that Why Bother makes the same offer to the reader that Here For It makes, but on the other side. What I wanted to the thought that I wanted to provoke with both titles, Here For It and Why Bother, is the possibility that you don't have to be in this life. You don't have to be alive. You don't have to be around. You don't have to participate. So accepting that existence is a choice, and that you can die at any moment, and you can take yourself out at any moment, or just remove yourself from society. Why are you? Why bother? Why are you here? Right. My agent wisely pointed out that people will be approaching this book not knowing me and not knowing like my cadence and my style. So why bother is going to seem a little pessimistic. A friend of mine, Amber Hikes, who is now works for the she does a lot of great work in LGBTQ equality, and I can't remember the name of the organization she works for. But she's an amazing person, and I've known her for years, and she always says, when she likes something, she's like, "I am here for it. I'm here for that." And she's the first person that I ever heard use that phrase, and it's pretty common now, I guess. And I love that there's duality in that phrase too. You can just sort of say, "I'm here for it. I'm present." I'm letting the waves of time wash over me, or you could say, I am enthusiastically for that. Mm-hmm. So that was we had a couple other sort of thoughts between Why Bother and Here For It that I can't remember, but Here For It became really clear. And then How to Save Your Soul in America, the subtitle, I realized that I wanted something that felt too big for the book. I wanted something that was like, my ambition here is not just telling you a story about growing up Black, gay, and Christian in America. My ambition here is to talk to you about the soul of this country, and to ask you, are you invested in saving the soul of this country, or saving your own soul inside of this country through the simple act of storytelling and showing up?
Right. So. Yeah, no, I think it works. I love Here For It. I think it's great. And I definitely had the moment of like, I'm here for this. Like I thought that. So I feel like you nailed it. Valentine's Day is upon us and I've got love on the brain. Love for books. Duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to traceythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. How do you balance, or how did you balance writing for Elle.com, your column, Eric Reads the News, and writing this book?
I honestly, I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I did all that because Elle takes all day,
Right.
like it's monitoring the news, it's writing about it, it's, thinking through jokes. It's a full, 8-hour workday. I would write in the mornings a lot. I'd write late in the evening. And so mostly I was squeezing in the essay writing time, from like 6 to 12, 6 to 1 at night. I set myself daily and weekly writing goals on Scrivener, which I use. And that worked pretty well. I'm good with gamification. But at one point I was like behind a little bit and it was very important to me to make my deadline. And so I rented an Airbnb in Southern Maryland, and I said, I'm just going to take a couple days off of work, or maybe it was I think it was maybe a Memorial Day holiday. And I took like 3 days and just like locked myself in the cabin with like no Wi-Fi. And I banged out a couple of essays. And one of the essays was the one about Kanye West that it required so much revision. We've gone back and forth with the essay so much. So I was like, I don't really know if this weekend away was worth it because I turned in a draft of an essay that was unusable for a long time. But yeah, it was just a lot of robbing Peter to pay Paul in terms of my sleep schedule.
Right. Because, yeah. Oh my God. Wait, that essay about Kanye West, I loved because I love that album so much, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And not only do I love the album, but you name checked my guy, Cole Kushner from the Dissect podcast that nobody knows about except for apparently you and I, because I am obsessed with that podcast.
Me too. It's so good. It's so smart. I'm like, Cole, you're like, he should have like a nightly show. Like,
Cole's a genius. So much out of The only thing about Cole is that he's such a nerd, and when he says N-word like 1,000 times, it makes my skin crawl, and he says some words wrong, which makes me laugh, and like I'm obsessed with it. Like, what's the word he always says wrong?
Yes. Oh my God. It's on the tip of my tongue because I think about it all the time because I'm like, that is not how you say it. And yet he's obsessed with that word. There's one word.
I can't remember. My husband knows. And my husband does a great Cole Kushner impression. And he's doing Lemonade right now.
No, I didn't know that.
So he's doing Lemonade. I'm in Oakland. I'm from LA. I live in LA. I'm from Oakland. I'm in Oakland right now. Long story short. But on my drive back tomorrow, back to LA, I have saved up all the episodes so far and I'm going to listen. But he does not only the album, but also like the visual album thing that she did, the
rest
movie.
Of my days. I'm so excited. I've like lost track of him. I think he moved over to Spotify and the platforms. I was like, I don't know where you are. I don't know what to do.
And he did some things that weren't great, but My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy season is unreal.
Masterpiece.
I actually listened to the Runaway episodes on my drive up here. I re-listened to them because they're so good.
Yes. And when he does the Lost in the World episode also, it's just so brilliant.
And the Power episode that you talk about.
Gosh. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so incredible. It's so good. I freaking love that podcast. Gives me chills. It made me love the album that I already loved so much, much more. and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
appreciate it. And he's just a brilliant he's just brilliant. So I was really excited because you started talking about it and I was like, oh, I wonder if he has like heard of, maybe I'll tell him about Dissect when I interview him. And then it was like music theorist Cole Kushnut. I was like, yeah, Cole, my guy.
Oh my gosh, seriously. I could listen to musicologists and poets talk about their work and talk about their thinking all day long because it just
Yeah.
opens up a part of my brain that does not exist.
Exactly. I feel the same way when people talk about stuff that I don't quite understand, but I'm
Mhm.
into. I'm like, wow, like going through the chord progressions and what they mean. And it's like,
Mhm.
yo, Cole, can you just teach me about all my favorite songs?
Right?
Like he should do it where you can just request a song. Like, can you tell me about this song? Like
That's a silent
Cameo, but
auction.
for
Yeah.
songs from
Oh
Cole.
my gosh, that'd be so smart.
Hello.
Thanks so much
I'm a
for
genius.
that.
I'm just going to let him know. I'm going to give you this idea. I'll take 10%. It's fine. It's over. Congratulations. You're a superstar. Okay, wait. I want to know about your writing setup when you're writing. Where are
Mhm.
you? What are you eating? What are you drinking? Do you have a candle lit? Like, what's your vibe? Do you have rituals? Do you have to be in one place? Like, tell me about your space.
Oh, I'm a chaos muppet, and I'm really
Okay.
sad about it. Because I work from home, and we moved midway through me writing this book. I've never had like an office.
Okay.
So I write in bed, I write on the sofa, I wrote in coffee shops. In the acknowledgments, I list all the places that some of the places I wrote. Like I wrote on Amtrak trains, back of Ubers. One time, I got a good idea as I was driving back, actually from my weekend away. And so I parked my car at a Chick-fil-A parking lot, got into the back seat of my car, plugged my computer in because I have a hybrid, and just wrote in the back seat of my car,
Oh my God.
like truly deranged. So I can't really listen to music,
Okay.
uh, especially music with words.
Okay.
Although the Fate Bursting Through the Wall, the essay about Kanye, was the exception. I was constantly in conversation with the music there. I can't like. I wish I could watch TV at the same time as I was writing. I feel like I'd get so much more done.
Yeah.
Like a lot of media like writers are like, oh yeah, I watched this and I wrote this. And I'm like, I don't need absolute silence. I just need like neutral,
Yeah.
like coffee shop
Yeah.
style. Um, I'm a big snacker. I love tasty cakes, so I'm just
Okay.
constantly like, but I don't want to like, I've recently gotten really into like chips, over quarantine, and I'm like, okay, but now my keyboard is
Oh,
covered in
yes.
grease, so I'm trying to like, retain some semblance of being a human being, but it's
Right.
a mess. Like I don't have any like set rituals. I write on my phone. I write on a notes app. I write on Evernote. It's chaos.
But you can keep track.
I guess I do a whole lot of searching on my computer and my phone where I'm like, okay, I had a note about this somewhere. And
Mm.
I'm like, I like search like hair, Luther Vandross. Where's that? And like, oh my God.
I mean, we all search hair Luther Vandross. Like, so you're not, it's like
Right.
very casual. It's like every day. Every day I just go in my phone. I'm like, hey Siri, she went on. My Siri just turned
Oh
on.
no.
She's like, how can I help you? Hair Luther Vandross lady. You know the drill.
Right.
Wait, okay. We have to talk about your job at Elle.com, your column, Eric Reads the News, because you came to this like dream job from a
Mhm.
Facebook post.
Yes, it's outrageous. Like, and people come, ask me to come and talk to their classes or whatever, and I'm like, I'm always happy. I'll do any appearance, but I don't have any advice. I'm like, I wrote a viral Facebook post in 2016, June of 2016, and it went super viral. Like, I mean, I guess I don't know what super viral is anymore, but it was like shared hundreds of thousands of times on Facebook. And my editor, the former site director of Elle, saw it, sent me a message on Facebook, which I saw, which now I'm like, I don't even know where to find messages on Facebook
Right.
anymore. She was like, hey, do you want to like give this a shot? And so I freelanced for a year, just writing the column. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know what it was going to be. She just had enough vision and confidence in me that she was like, I see
Hmm.
that you can comment on current events in a way that is unique and interesting. So do you want to try it out? And I've been writing. I've been writing every day, since then, since July 4th of 2016, which is outrageous.
Yeah. Yeah, because also, and like this should be said, who's actually on Facebook?
Right.
like like that's the thing that was so crazy to me. I was like, he must have done this in 2008 when everybody was on Facebook. But
Mhm.
like I go on Facebook every once in a while. So it's crazy, like to go viral on Facebook is even more crazy.
Right. I mean, like now, I think all only things that are viral on Facebook are like conspiracy videos and like
Right.
weird memes that were popular like 3 years ago.
Right.
So I don't know. It
Right.
was it was so. I mean, like my book is full of magic. You know, from
Right.
like the Immaculate Conception to the prediction of the pandemic to this job. And one that feels great, but it's also very strange because I don't know how to make it keep happening. You know.
Right. Right. Do you like, are you, were, did you always want to write? Like, was that something that you always wanted to do? Or was this something where she kind of approached you and you were like, I mean, okay, I know you say in the book that you worked at the newspaper and like, I know that writing's been a part of your life, but was this something that you had envisioned for yourself as a goal? Or was this something that just came to you and turned out to be this amazing opportunity and experience?
Well, it's funny because I think I had nascent dreams of something like this, you know,
Okay.
and I think a lot of beginning writers, particularly if you have like if you write humor or you have a perspective, you think, oh, I'd love a column, you know. I pitched a column to the Philadelphia Gay News at one point, and they were like, you know, no, thank you, and to other a couple other sites, and I understand that impulse. I know why I had that impulse, but it's also like I understand why people were like, thanks, but no thanks, because a
Mm,
column is uh, quite a commitment from both the paper and from the writer. And it takes a really specific perspective.
mm,
So I think by the time I got the offer, I no longer had that as a dream because
mm.
it just seemed impractical. Um, I don't know. I never really wanted to write for a newspaper
Okay.
or a magazine, you know, beyond like uh, reviews, you know, of like concerts, which I was doing occasionally and freelancing. I just wanted to write books, and I didn't know how. So, so you know, this occurrence was both a fulfillment of a dream and also something that was like totally outside of my
Hmm.
wheelhouse and desire, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, also, you are credited with Auntie Maxine. Like,
Yeah.
that's wild. My husband has this genius idea to make a website that is like all these different memes and pop culture references and explains them. Like, like the little black boy who's like standing in the white shirt and like looking like kind of skeptical, like, what's he
Hmm.
from? Or like the
Yeah.
Nick Young, like the basketball player, like all the different memes. It's like, I know this meme, but like, where did it come from? And I feel like Auntie Maxine, I would have never known. Like, I would have never known that someone came up with that. And seeing that it was you, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. You're like a meme stan, a meme maker.
Right. Well, it's so weird because like I wasn't trying, and
Right.
it's so funny. It's from like a throwaway line in the piece I wrote about her, and people just picked up on it. And I think it's also like I was referencing like a larger idea, like culturally, like
Right.
auntie culture, and so it wasn't, you know, like I think it was just sort of the perfect storm of things. And like for a while, I was like, I don't know, did I start this? But then Maxine Waters was like, "You started the Auntie Maxine thing," and I
Right.
was like,
Because then
"Oh,
you got to meet her and like go like do a panel with her.
right." Which is
So
again
cool.
a thing that I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to talk to a representative," and then it happens. I'm like, "Oh, I was not expecting this to happen to me."
Right.
Um, she's amazing, and you know, now my next book is a biography of her that I co-wrote with Helena Andrews Dyer.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
called Reclaiming Her Time, and it's, you know, it's a book about her life and her work and her wisdom. And again, that came about because, like, in the most random way, you know, I wrote about her enough times, and those things went viral, and became part of the zeitgeist. And then a couple of years later, someone approached me and was like, "Do you want to put this into a full book?"
Oh,
And it seemed like the right time.
when does that come out? Do you know?
Yeah, it comes out October 20, I believe October 20th of 2020.
Oh my gosh. So soon.
Yeah, yeah,
How exciting. Well, congratulations. I didn't even realize it was coming so soon.
yeah.
That's awesome. It's like you are the manifestation of, guess what, people? Dreams come true.
Right,
Kind of
right.
nice to know. I mean, right now it's such a crazy time and things feel so bleak. Like
Mhm.
it's so nice to know that, like, yeah, good things happen to people, and that's awesome. So thank you for existing. We need you. Protect Eric at all costs. We need him.
Well, I also just love that it's like it's all these things that I wasn't verbalizing the dream that got fulfilled, but it was like the dream that I needed, you know. And
Yeah.
my father likes to joke. He's like, "You're an overnight sensation, 39 years in the making," and I'm like, "That's not the compliment you think it
Yeah.
is." But he means it with love. But it's sort of true. It's like I wanted to be 22 years old and to have like a best-selling novel.
Right.
And I didn't have the life or the tools for that. And I still don't have a I have this actually here did was an indie bestseller, which I'm very grateful to
That's
independent
awesome.
booksellers out there. But like the path was so different.
Right.
And so when I think about like, oh, dreams coming true, and I think about, well, what dreams do I have for my writing career, for my life coming up? I'm sort of like, oh my gosh, how do I even dare to dream?
Hmm.
Because the universe, life has so many different ideas, and those ideas can be really wonderful if you lean into it.
Right. And you get into that in that last kind of epilogue to your book in the play,
Hmm.
which I don't want to talk about because it's such a nice surprise. But you
Mm,
do get into that, and it was really I really appreciated that. But
thank you.
we'll leave that for the reader. We'll leave them a little nugget at the end. Okay, this is the most important question that I ask every author.
Hmm.
Recently, I started doing this recently. It's my favorite question now. My favorite question used to be about snacks, but now it's this one. What is the word that you cannot spell correctly on the first try?
Oh my gosh, there's a million. I typo king, connoisseur,
Oh, wow.
connoisseur. I'm always like, it's connoisseur, and I'm like, okay, that's not helpful, Eric. I still don't know what that means. Recommend.
That's my word. That's
Is it?
also Samantha Irby's word.
Oh my gosh, of course. Oh, twins. All of us,
Yes.
we're best friends.
Triplets.
Yeah,
Hello.
I have to, like I write blurbs a lot for Elle, for books that I love and TV shows. I write blurbs for books, and so I'm constantly writing
Me too.
recommend,
Hmm.
and I never know.
Yep.
I'm like two C's, two M's, two D's. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. I've gone off the deep end with recommend. Now I just type REC and just like wait and just do space and then just go back and wait for it to tell me the right answer because it's too depressing that I can't get it at this
Hmm.
age. And knowing that I
Right?
write the word so many times because all I do is recommend books to people
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
day. And so
It won't stick in the brain. It's a
nope.
bad word.
It's a messed up word. Whoever wrote it should be fired. Whoever came up with it is done. You're fired. Goodbye. Okay, we just have a little bit more time though. I would like to do this for years. We know what comes next for you. That was my next question, but I don't have to ask it. This is also very important for people who love your book. What are some other books that you might recommend to them? Not
Uh,
necessarily the same kind of book, but just something that you feel like speaks to your book, is in conversation with, can be similar, can be different, just whatever that evokes in you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Samantha Irby obviously is like the patron saint of like taking lemons and making them into hilarious lemonade.
Right.
So we're never meeting in real life. Her book is great. Wow, no, thank you is amazing. I really recommend David Rakoff's Fraud. That was
Okay.
hugely influential to me. And David Rakoff, unfortunately, died relatively young, and so we don't have a lot of the work
Hmm.
that he was going to give us. So but I really recommend Fraud. What else is in conversation? I mentioned so many books in the book. For whatever reason, like I'm thinking of The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin.
Okay.
If like it is a young adult mystery, but it's just so delightful. And it is, delight is a thing that I tried to manifest in the book a lot, and it's hard, I think, to find delight a lot in
Right.
the present. So I think that's definitely in conversation. And I listened to a lot of talks by Jericho Brown and
Pulitzer
more,
Prize winner Jericho
right.
Brown.
Yes, Pulitzer Prize winner, Jericho Brown. I got to meet him and see him in person, do a reading. He's astounding. So the tradition was constantly sort of in the back of my mind,
Mm,
and I aspire to write anything like a fraction as good as any of his phrases. And Morgan Parker, I feel the same way
mm.
about. And particularly her book of poems, Magical Negro. I feel like that's very much in conversation with this book, or this book aspires to be in conversation with Magical Negro.
I love that. Okay, this question is similar. What were the things that you, Eric, were consuming pop culture or books or movies or TV or whatever while you were actually writing this book?
Well, a lot of the book is sort of was me going back and making sure that I like the things I was remembering were actually in existence. So I was watching a lot of old Mister Rogers
Okay.
Neighborhood, which I believe is on Hulu now, um, and a lot of Whitney Houston. When Houston discography is super important. What else was I like consuming at that point? It was 2 years ago. I don't know. Oh, everything is such a blur.
It's true. What is time? Who knows?
But yeah, those are my main things. Yeah, and then like the poetry, the work. I honestly like when I can't figure out the words to write, I turn to poetry and it makes me better every time.
It's so nice. I like that.
Oh,
I'm in.
Dante Collins' book Autopsy was
Okay.
hugely important to me. It's a new book of poems, and he's a young Black queer writer, and his ability to be vulnerable and to describe emotions viscerally was like mind blowing to me.
I have to check that out. Okay. These are my last kind of two questions for you. The book's been out since February, right?
Yeah.
Have there been any reactions to the book that have been surprising to you?
Um, I think I was surprised by um, I, I was surprised that people had the reaction. I mean, this is maybe it's going to sound silly, but I didn't know that people would embrace it as something that was both funny and heartfelt. I
Mm.
thought that people would either say like, "It's not funny enough," or they would say, "This is all just jokes. Who cares?" And the
Mm.
fact that people were like, "I was laughing and crying on the same page." That's like the fact that like that was a really a constant comment was a big surprise to me. There's an essay that is not funny at all. She's got herself a universe, which is, for me, an essay that's about love and
Mhm.
about grief and falling in love through grief. It's my favorite essay. It's not funny, and I thought that people would say like, "This book is great," and then there's this weird little grief hole
Hmm.
love story in the middle, and instead people were like emailing me constantly about this essay. So
Yeah.
that was a big surprise.
I felt the same way about that essay. It's amazing. It's incredible. I was so moved by it. So I'm glad it's in there. And I think it makes you a more rounded person to the reader. Like that
Hmm.
essay informs us so much about you and it comes early in the book. So
Hmm.
like it gives you a depth that if it wasn't there, I don't know how I would I mean, I still would like the book, but I don't know how I would feel about you. Right? Like it gives
Mm-hmm.
you a heart in a way
Mm.
that the other essays that come after, like it's like I can keep going back to like this thing that I know about you, these things that I know about you. So I
Oh.
think that's a really important essay in the collection as a whole. I said last two questions, but I do have one more kind of mini question. Who is the
Mhm.
coolest person who's expressed interest or excitement about your book? Like that who's
Oh,
read it?
I mean, Lin-Manuel Miranda like expressed
Ah.
like very early interest. I mean, he blurbed it and it's on the cover. And that was mind blowing to me. Casey McQuiston, who wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I'm obsessed with, has been so 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 kind. So yeah, those two. Um, um, Yeah, and then like the entire staff of Parnassus Books in Nashville, like
Hmm.
Mary Laura Philpott, like Sissy Gardner, Ann Patchett, like all I don't know what they're doing in their staff meetings, but they've all sort of expressed this enthusiasm, and I'm like, oh my god,
Mm,
thank you. So it's been
that's
great.
so cool. Okay, this is really the last one. If you could have one person dead or alive read the book, who would it be?
Okay, well, there's an emotional answer, which is my friend Electra,
Hmm.
and I think I would also very much love for Michelle Obama to read it because
Mm.
I think she would enjoy it. I enjoyed Becoming, and I would like to return the favor in a
Yes.
small way.
Yes, Michelle Obama. Love her. Have you watched her documentary yet?
I haven't.
Me
No,
neither.
I've read it. I've read that it's amazing. But I listened to the audiobook of Becoming, and that was
Me too.
astounding.
Oh my God, it's so great to listen to. It's like, ah, Michelle's back.
Yes,
Just for
yeah.
this time in my ear, we're together again. Life is okay. Okay, everybody at home, I've been talking to our Eric Thomas, goes by Eric. Don't get confused. His book is called Here for It or How to Save Your Soul in America. Eric, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. This was such a pleasure. It's so wonderful talking and meeting you.
This was so great for me too. I love it. You guys can get Eric's book. It's out in the world. You can get it wherever you get your books. I, of course, will link to his book and everything else we talked about today in the show notes so you can find it there. Eric, thank you. And everybody else, we will see you in the stacks. Thank you all so much for listening today, and thank you to R. Eric Thomas for being my guest. Remember, we will be discussing The Giver by Lois Lowry for the Stacks Book Club on Wednesday, May 27th with Sue Thomas, my mom. Find everything we discussed today in the link in the show notes. For more from The Stacks, follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram and at The Stacks Pod _ on Twitter. And check out our website, thestackspodcast.com. Make sure you're subscribed to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts, please take a moment to rate and review this show. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tagirajis. This podcast was created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.